I want you to go through this list honestly, not defensively, not with excuses ready, just honestly, because most people who watch this are going to recognize themselves in more of these than they expect. And that's not an insult. That's just how the system is designed. Every single item on this list exists because an entire industry spent decades figuring out how to make performing wealth feel more important than building it. So here's what we're doing today. I'm going to walk you through the fake rich checklist. Every signal, every habit, every purchase that feels like success but is actually the opposite of it. And then I'm going to show you what the real version looks like. Not the Instagram version. Not the version that gets likes. The version that actually results in financial security. And look, if you have some of these, that's fine. I'm not here to make you feel bad. I'm here to make you think. Because there's a very specific pattern to how people end up looking wealthy while going broke, and once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Welcome to my channel, and this is the video the consumer economy genuinely does not want you to watch. Hit subscribe if you want to keep seeing the financial reality behind the lifestyle everyone's performing. Let's get into the list. Number 1 on the fake rich checklist, the car. And not just any car. Specifically, a brand new car financed, with a payment that takes up a significant chunk of monthly take-home pay. Possibly leased, so there's always a new one every 3 years. Maybe a truck or an SUV, because those are even more expensive, and the payment sounds more impressive when you tell people what you drive. The new car is the single clearest dividing line between people performing wealth and people building it. And I say that because the research on actual wealthy people is remarkably consistent on this point. Study after study, most famously the work behind The Millionaire Next Door, finds that genuinely wealthy people disproportionately drive used cars. Not because they can't afford new ones. Because they understand that a new car is one of the worst financial decisions a person can make, and they got wealthy partly by not making it. The moment you drive a new car off the lot, it loses 15 to 20% of its value. You haven't gotten home yet, and you're already thousands of dollars poorer. Then it keeps depreciating every year while you make payments on it plus interest. You are paying monthly for something that is becoming worth less every single month. That is the mathematical opposite of building wealth. Meanwhile, a 3 or 4-year-old used car, same reliability, same functionality, same ability to get you to the same places, costs dramatically less, and the depreciation hit has already happened. Someone else absorbed it. You get the utility without the financial penalty. But people buy new cars anyway. Because the new car feels like success. It smells like success. People see you in it and make assumptions about your financial situation. And those assumptions are almost always wrong. The person in the $70,000 truck is probably eating cereal for dinner to cover the payment. The person in the 8-year-old Honda is probably maxing out their retirement account every year. Here's the fake rich, brand new financed car, payment over $500 a month, lease, so there's always a newer one. And the real rich is the used car, paid off or minimal financing, kept until it stops running. Number 2 on the list is designer clothes and luxury accessories. Now look, I'm not saying all expensive clothing is fake rich signaling. There are genuinely quality items worth paying more for. A well-made coat that lasts 10 years is actually better financial value than a cheap one you replace every 18 months. That's real. That's math. What I'm talking about is logos. Specifically, paying enormous markups specifically for the logo. The $200 t-shirt that is functionally identical to a $20 t-shirt, except for a small embroidered brand name on the chest. The $800 belt. The $2,000 handbag. The $500 sneakers. Items where the overwhelming majority of the price premium represents brand recognition and absolutely nothing else. And the thing is, nobody actually cares. This is the part that makes the whole transaction genuinely baffling when you look at it clearly. People around you are not thinking about your handbag. They're not impressed by your logo belt. They might notice it for a half second. They're not changing their opinion of you based on it. You spent $700 extra dollars for a half second of recognition, from people who immediately went back to thinking about their own lives. Meanwhile, and this is the part that really matters, actually wealthy people are famously not doing this. The research on high net worth individuals consistently show they are less likely to wear visible luxury logos than people with moderate incomes trying to signal success. Because genuinely wealthy people don't need to signal anything to anyone. They have nothing to prove. Status signaling through clothing is almost entirely a behavior of people who want to appear wealthier than they are. Here's the fake rich. Designer logos, visible brand names, accessories that cost more than your monthly savings rate. The real rich is the quality basics. Buys for durability, not recognition, couldn't care less about the logo. Number 3 on the list. The elaborate vacation you can't really afford, posted extensively on social media. And again, I want to be careful here. Travel has genuine value. Seeing new places, experiencing different cultures, making memories with people you love, that's real. I'm not telling you to never leave your house. What I'm talking about is a very specific pattern. The vacation that gets booked primarily because of how it will look. The resort that's slightly beyond the budget because the photos are better. The business class upgrade that gets justified because you work hard and deserve it. The trip that goes on the credit card because you'll figure it out when you get back. The carefully curated series of posts that creates an impression of a lifestyle that the credit card statement would completely contradict. This is one of the most socially visible items on the fake rich checklist, and it does real financial damage because the pressure to show off travel is intense right now. Everyone's feed is full of exotic locations and beautiful hotels and carefully filtered experiences. And the brain processes all of that as normal, as what people at your income level are doing. So you feel like you need to keep up. And keeping up means spending money you don't have on experiences designed to be photographed more than enjoyed. Genuinely wealthy people take vacations too. But they're not going into debt for them. They're not booking them to generate content. They're not choosing the destination based on the Instagram potential. They're spending money they actually have on experiences they actually want without a credit card hangover waiting at home. Here's the fake rich. The elaborate finance vacation, extensive social media coverage, credit card debt that outlasts the tan. And the real rich is the travel within actual means, experiences chosen for enjoyment, not appearance, no debt attached. Number 4 on the list is the house that's at the absolute top of what the bank will approve, and the furniture are financed to fill it. Housing is complicated because a home can be a genuine wealth-building asset. Equity builds over time. Values appreciate in most markets over long periods. Buying a home isn't inherently fake rich behavior at all. What is fake rich behavior is buying the maximum house the bank will approve regardless of whether that payment is actually comfortable. Treating the bank's approval limit as a target rather than a ceiling. Stretching to a payment that consumes 40 or 45% of take-home income because the house is bigger and nicer and in the more impressive zip code. And then financing furniture to fill it. This one genuinely amazes me every time. People are going into debt for couches, putting sofas on payment plans, financing dining room tables, taking on interest-bearing debt for items that will be worn out and worth nothing in 5 to 7 years. Because the house looks a certain way and the furniture needs to match, and the whole thing needs to look right for when people come over. The payment plan furniture is one of the purest expressions of fake rich thinking that exists. You are paying interest on a depreciating object so that guests who visit a few times a year are impressed by your living room. The math on that transaction is genuinely insane when you write it out. Real wealth building in housing looks like buying comfortably below the maximum approval, keeping housing costs under 28 to 30% of gross income, furnishing gradually with things you can actually afford, building equity rather than performing a lifestyle. So the fake rich is the maximum approval mortgage, financed furniture, impressive address that consumes all financial flexibility. And the real rich is the comfortable payment, housing as an asset, not a performance, furnishings bought with cash over time. Number 5 on the list is death by 1,000 subscriptions. This one is subtler than the others, but it's on the checklist because it represents a very specific pattern, spending on the identity of a certain lifestyle rather than the actual content of it. The gym membership at the expensive gym, the one with the nice equipment and the juice bar and the classes, that you go to twice a month but keep paying for because canceling feels like giving up on being the kind of person who works out at a nice gym. The meal kit subscription that delivers ingredients for dinners you cook about half the time, while the other boxes pile up in the fridge. Every streaming service simultaneously even though you rotate through them, and really only use two regularly. Netflix, Hulu, Disney, HBO, Apple, Paramount, Amazon, $60, $70, $80 a month for television you barely watch. The professional membership. The premium app subscriptions. The delivery service memberships. Each one individually seems negligible. $12 here, $15 there. But subscriptions are specifically designed to be invisible, to slip under the radar of conscious spending, because the individual amounts feel too small to bother canceling. Add them up though. Genuinely add every subscription you pay for right now. Most people who do this exercise are surprised by the total. Genuinely surprised. Because the subscriptions accumulate in the background, while attention goes to the big visible purchases. Here's the fake rich. Subscriptions accumulating untouched, paying for an identity you're not actually living. And the real rich is the intentional subscriptions only, regular review, and pays for what's actually used. Number 6 on the list. Upgrading to the newest phone every year or two when the current one works perfectly fine. A new iPhone costs somewhere between $1,000 and $1,200 now. More for the premium models. And people are buying them every year or every other year when their current phone, which does everything they need it to do, is working completely fine. Because the new one has a slightly better camera, or a faster processor, or a new colors, or because everyone else seems to have the new one and keeping the old one starts to feel like a statement. Tech companies have built an extraordinarily effective annual upgrade cycle. They release a new model every year with incremental improvements, and they market those improvements as transformative. And people who would never describe themselves as susceptible to marketing participate in this cycle enthusiastically, including people who are simultaneously stressed about their financial situation. Your phone is for calls, messages, navigation, and social media. Your 2-year-old phone does all of that identically to the new one. The camera difference is not detectable to anyone looking at your photos. The processor difference is not perceptible in any app you actually use. The $1,200 you spent is $1,200 that could have gone somewhere real. So the fake rich is the one with the newest phone every release cycle, newest laptop every 2 years, latest everything always. And the real rich is the one that uses tech until it stops working, upgrades when necessary, not when marketed to. Number 7 on the list is spending to maintain a social image that your income can't actually support. This is the category that ties everything else together. The rounds of drinks you buy at the bar because you want to seem generous. The restaurant you choose because it's where your social group goes even though it's $40 a plate, and that's genuinely uncomfortable for your budget. The wedding gift that's larger than you can afford because you're worried about what people will think. The friend's birthday dinner where everyone orders freely and splits the bill evenly, and you say nothing even though the math doesn't work for you right now. Social spending is particularly hard to address because it's tangled up with belonging and relationships and identity in ways that's different than pure consumer purchases. The car is a decision you make alone. The restaurant is a decision you make with people you care about in real time with social pressure present. But the financial damage from social spending is real and significant. And the particularly insidious part is that it's almost invisible in a budget because it gets spread across so many different categories. It doesn't show up as one line item. It shows up as slightly higher restaurant spending and slightly higher gift spending and slightly higher entertainment spending. And it adds up to thousands of dollars a year spent maintaining an image rather than building a future. So the fake rich is the one that spends socially to maintain image, never says no to group expenses, finances relationships through overspending. And the real rich is honest about budget, chooses social settings that fit actual finances, relationships not contingent on spending. So that's the checklist. 7 categories. 7 ways that performing wealth quietly destroys the possibility of actually building it, the car, the designer clothes, the financed vacation, the maximum mortgage with payment plan furniture, the subscription graveyard, the annual phone upgrades, the social spending that maintains an image your income can't support. And here's the thing I want you to sit with. None of these are moral failures. Every single item on this list exists because an industry specifically designed it to feel like a reasonable decision. The car dealer, the fashion brand, the travel industry, the real estate agent, the phone manufacturer, the restaurant, they all make more money when you perform the act being wealthy rather than build it. The entire consumer economy is optimized for extracting money from the gap between what you earn and what you want to appear to earn. Understanding that doesn't make the pressure go away, but it does change the nature of the choice. Every time you're about to make a decision on this checklist, you can ask one question. Am I buying this because it genuinely improves my life, or because it makes me look a certain way so people won't think less of me? That question alone, asked honestly and consistently, is worth more than any budgeting app or financial plan. Because the fake rich checklist isn't really about money. It's about who you're making financial decisions for. If the answer is for other people, then you will spend your whole life performing wealth for an audience that isn't watching while the actual wealth never arrives. The real rich checklist is boring. Used cars, generic brands, modest housing, maxed retirement accounts, index funds, emergency fund. Spending on what actually matters to you personally, not on what signals success to others. It doesn't make great content. It doesn't get likes. It just works. Drop a like if this made you honest with yourself about something. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing the financial reality behind the lifestyle everyone's performing.